morning to introduce some speakers who will add some breadth and depth to your knowledge of customer service from various aspects. So today, we're looking at opportunities to grow, to learn, and to learn from those who have walked the path and have done the fire walk down and have successfully been here to join us today to share their wisdom with us. We have quite an interesting lineup of speakers from different angles, so I'm hoping that you'll sort of take the best of each of these and be able to use some of the tips and strategies as you develop your customer service prowess. Our first speaker this morning is Marcey Wilson. And Marcey, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you with us today. She is currently the administrator of Hillsdale Estates, which is a 300-bed long-term care region of Durham home. She is a registered dietitian and started her career with the homes as a student, working in the food service department, and then post-graduation as a therapeutic dietitian. Marcey has been promoted throughout the homes in various management positions and has been a senior manager for the last 7 years. She has led the quality initiative of the Central East Local Health Integration Network and Health Quality Ontario Residents' First Calls Collaborative Initiative. Her team is receiving an award for meeting certain criteria, including achievement outcome process and balance measure benchmarks. As a divisional lead for recruitment plan development and implementation for registered staff, she was the 2011 divisional recipient of the Ontario Association of Nonprofit Homes and Services for Seniors Innovation and Quality Excellence Award for development of an outstanding recruitment video which debunked the myths of long-term care and showcasing its strengths. Marcey authored a Canadian Nursing Home Journal article on emergency planning. She is a member of the Canadian College of Health Leaders, College of Dietitians of Ontario. She has her certificate in municipal management and is an Eden Alternative Living Associate. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcey is very pleased to take part in this panel session today, and would you give a nice warm welcome to Marcey.
So what I'll do this morning, I'm going to start right off with the video. I did really want to showcase the video, and then I'm going to tie it into customer service and staff engagement. So we'll just get started then.
If you want to be a professional nurse, it is necessary that you have a good school of nursing. You first should be a high school graduate. A good nursing school first will be concerned for your own health. You will be given a thorough medical examination and must meet certain health standards before you are accepted. Instruction in nutrition and cookery are necessary to teach the nurse how properly to direct the preparation of food for patients, and in many cases, to prepare it herself. This ability and the great amount of resourcefulness is especially valuable. The majority of
Marcey Wilson, and I'm the administrator at Hillsdale Estates for the Regional Municipality of Durham. Right here, right now, besides having some of the most beautiful and modern long-term care homes in the country, we have the highest quality of registered staff who work at their widest scope of practice. We employ cutting-edge computer technology like the RIMDS, electronic flow sheets, and electronic pens to complement programs like wound care, least restraint, falls prevention, and technological lift and transfer. Hillsdale Estates was one of the first homes to accept peritoneal dialysis patients. In partnership with Lakeridge Health Oshawa, specific training is provided to meet the needs of these residents. Lakeview Manor champions innovative programs like geriatric assessment and pain management with individuals who have cognitive impairment. Fairview Lodge is refining the pressure ulcer awareness program, including the total pressurized oxygen therapy. Hillsdale Terraces is a leader with gentle, persuasive approach training. All our homes strive to provide the gold standard of long-term care and services for seniors. Much like that old nursing film, people still believe a lot of old myths about long-term care. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is what's so special about working in long-term care for the regional municipality of Durham? Well, if I were to tell you it all had to do with roller skates, would you believe me? I think you'll understand once we ask the experts, people who actually work in the field, to clear out the difference between myth and reality.
What would you think is the most common myth about working in long-term care?
There won't be that many challenges. I won't be able to use my skills.
There's a lot of heavy lifting.
The pay's not that good.
Won't really enjoy it. It could even be boring.
Lower paid. You know, it'll be depressing. I don't want to deal with that.
You know, maybe very sad.
That is a common myth.
Whatever work involves cleaning behind,
There's no opportunity to use your leadership skills.
that we're not real nurses.
I won't have to use my skills. I'll give it the medications and I'll feed people and change them. And
Oh, that is probably one of the biggest misconceptions ever out there,
It's a dead-end job.
which is a total farce.
some of the common myths about working in a long-term care is there's a lot of heavy lifting.
That isn't true.
We have a no-lift policy, actually, and every room is fitted with overhead lift for every resident that is unable to self-transfer.
So there was no reason to actually have to lift someone.
And I really don't think that's too much of an issue with long-term care.
One of the things that most people don't ask is how's the salary here at the region of Durham?
We have excellent pay here, and I have to admit the Durham region does pay well.
I don't think you get a better benefit plan anywhere.
My understanding, and there's a few nurses in my family that work in other institutions, but my understanding is we're the best paid in the region.
The RNs, I can't say how much money I get, but I'm not crying.
I think a common myth about long-term care is that we're not using the technology. We have fantastic technology.
For example,
Some of the hospitals still have paper charting, but here at long-term care, we have all electronic charting.
we wanted to make sure that the information provided to our staff was the most current possible.
We get our lab results off the computer, we chart on the computer. It's very forward in that sense, no paper charting.
Almost every week there's something different happening on the computers.
Here at Fairview, we have electronic pen. So when you're doing your doctor's orders, you sign it, you sign the doctor's orders, and it goes right to the pharmacy. RIMDS is definitely a new technological advance.
It stands for Resident Assessment Instrument, Minimum Data Set.
In the past, our team was collecting the data on our residents individually. So dietary would be looking at their information, therapy would be looking at their information, and nursing would be looking at their information.
The reason that was bad is that some recommendations that were put forth by the dietary people would not necessarily connect with the nursing people.
Now we're collaborating that information for our residents.
The statistical data that we get from our RIMDS assessments helps us to look at each unit individually and also each of our residents individually.
It will link us up with different countries even. We might be able to compare our data with their data. It's the wave of the future. It's what we're all going to be using.
We want to just not say we're doing a great job, we want to know we're doing a great job.
One of the main myths that's out there is that you lose your skills.
yeah, I really didn't feel that I would be using all my skills. And at the time, I thought, well, I should really go work in the hospital because that's where I'll be using all my skills. You know, I'm going to forget a lot of things working in long-term care.
And that couldn't be further from the truth. It was something I thought too before coming into long-term care.
But my experience is you only enhance your skills. You get a chance to actually to work independently and within team format. You truly get to become a nurse.
The RPNs here and the RNs, we do everything.
Iron injections, sub-Q injections.
We work with oxygen,
Conceived pumps, tube feeding,
dealing with catheters,
antibiotic therapy by IV, G-tubes. We have just oral pharyngeal shock suctioning.
pain pumps.
You need to be quick on your feet. It's very exciting. It's not what you think.
You need to know your assessment skills head to toe.
So you have to use your critical thinking and sometimes think outside the box.
You have to work closely with the doctor. You have to know your lab works.
We speak with families on a constant basis.
My communication skills have grown tremendously.
There are different skills that you would find in the hospital. Here you're more of a leader.
That's what I really like about it, is that there's so much leadership involved in this role.
Being an RN here, a lot of people do look up to you and value your comments and your opinions and your directions. One of the biggest things I think you have to do is be a role model here.
That's very accurate, and I think being a registered nurse in the building, and being in a leadership role, I think if you give respect, respect is given back.
You need help from the PSWs, the RPNs, the management team, the environmental staff, the kitchen staff, everybody has to work together as a team.
We really encourage education and using your full scope of practice.
You'll always be learning, which is very important for any new grad nurse who's been a nurse for 25 years or a new grad.
My confidence from when I was 19 to today has grown incredibly.
If you truly want to make a difference in people's lives, if you want to affect somebody in a positive manner, if you want to expand your nursing skills, expand your opportunity to grow, even as a nurse, but even as a human being, long-term care is the place to be.
There's always the notion that working long-term care is depressing. Is it depressing?
That was one of my conceptions before coming into long-term care, was that, you know, it'll be depressing, I don't want to deal with death. And before coming in here, I hadn't dealt with death. You build relationships with these residents, not only the residents, but their family. When you lose one, it's tough.
Well, there is no way to sugarcoat that. Once you do work with people for 10, 15 years and then passing away, it is like you're losing a family member sometimes.
I think with nursing in general, we deal with death and dying, and I think it's a fact.
Well, that is part of life. We do have a palliative care program here that we try and follow and implement and give comfort to the family as well.
But the good thing about it is you are there at the end of their life to keep them comfortable and to be there to support them and their families. Like, there's many, many rewards that people just don't understand.
There is a misconception that this is a very, very depressing place to work at. It's not at all. It's really quite enjoyable to get to know these fine folks.
There's something really good about being there for not only the residents but the family at those last moments. I mean, sometimes death isn't unavoidable, but you walk away sometimes knowing that you did everything you could to make that person comfortable.
It's not depressing at all. If you give the resident the elderly encouragement, they're willing to give back, and it's not depressing at all.
I don't find it depressing at all to work at Lakeview Manor. I think it's a great place to work.
I would say it would be depressing. If you talk to some of our nurses, I would say it's probably the opposite.
What you always got to keep reminding yourself that is your job to make sure that then their last days will be enjoyable days. Everybody's going to die. Let's just make sure that when they do pass away, it is a good death.
I think there's something incredible about that.
In long-term care, you're given a special opportunity to develop a relationship and rapport with residents and family members in preparation for end of life. And I think that's one of the joys of being able to work in long-term care, and certainly wouldn't call it depressing. I would just see that it's a gift.
Hello, my name is Colleen. I'm the daughter of Thelma Durham. Thelma was born in Toronto in July of 1927, and she resided in the Durham region for 30 years until she was admitted to hospital and later on into Hillsdale long-term care facility. She moved in October 30th, and shortly after that, the neuropathy in her hand started to get to worsen, and she couldn't hold knives, spoons, and forks. And by December, she felt she couldn't come out for Christmas. And then in January, they told me that she would be going to palliative care. They had about 6 months.
It was a painful situation. Just to do a treatment on her, the girls were in there for a good 25, 30 minutes, at least.
This was probably 2 weeks before she actually passed, so I guess she was on a lot of medication and that. And she didn't want to get out of bed.
Well, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. So basically, some of you saw a little clip of that anyhow at the other customer service series. But basically, the rest of the video, it showcases how staff really, really step up to the plate and provide a really positive experience for Thelma before she passes away. She had a bucket list, and she always wanted to go rollerblading. So what the staff did is they brought in a cake that said "Roll on, Thelma," and they were actually able to put rollerblades on her. And it's, sorry, it's very moving, so it's maybe just as well you didn't see that part of the video, because it's just, it just really showcases how much you can become involved with the residents and develop that relationship and make such a difference in their lives and the families' lives. So that's what that ending would have been. So as I was introduced as Marcey Wilson, and I just wanted to clarify that I am here as administrator of Hillsdale Estates, but also this lead was a divisional lead, so also on behalf of our other homes, which is Fairview Lodge and Whitby, Hillsdale Terraces across the road in Oshawa, and Lakeview Manor in Beaverton. And altogether we have about 847 residents and approximately 1,200 staff. So my objectives this morning is to give you an idea of recruitment strategies, which I'll pull through from the video, and also I know from a customer service perspective, I'll also talk about engagement and retention strategies. So when we look at recruitment strategies, we recognized from a resident and staff satisfaction perspective is that we need to make sure that we had a good pool of applicants to come into long-term care. And so this is why we looked at developing this recruitment video, because we recognized that there was a shortage of registered practical nurses and registered nurses. And I see some heads nodding. I'm sure that's not news to some of you in the room, but it's a worldwide shortage, and certainly it's better now than it was even a few years ago. And so that was the whole purpose of this recruitment strategy. So we worked very closely with her HR rep, and we did, I was a divisional lead and very much worked with all the homes and having a good task force to look at the development of the recruitment plan. And of course, an offset of that was looking at the video. And we also have brochures that are similar to that message from the video. I was able to connect through Durham College with a third-year marketing student who also assists us with the creation of the video. And through the long-term care, we're part of social services with the region of Durham, and so we had a gentleman who was our video gentleman, who obviously had significant skill in assisting us with the development of the video. So we also, with the video, it's very planned. It's just not something we throw out there. What happens is that we host our own recruitment fairs now. We will go out to recruitment fairs, and one very positive one with the training board is the career fair with the high school students, the Durham and Kawartha high school students. We love that one because we can get in there right away and say, you know, this is what long-term care is really about. It's not what you think. So obviously, we thought we would do, we are aware there was research that was done prior to the creation of the video. We know there's myths out there. You know, those staff talking, these are the myths that we need to debunk, because sincerely, it's completely, you know, not what some people think. It's all about developing relationships. There's a lot of skills that are used. It's about leadership, and we also have high technology. So when we're talking about recruitment strategies and kind of leading into you know, what we're looking at, is we tie it into our mission, vision, and values, of course. And some of the things that we look for is working well with others. So one of our values is a supportive and respectful workplace. So we feel that the video also showcases that. Leadership is huge. We want everyone to be a leader. And I know that's, you know, you have to walk the talk, and we're very pleased that that's why we just really enjoy that video, because it really shows the frontline staff, which are, you know, they're the first point of contact with our residents. They mean everything, and just to show that they can really be a leader. That whole passion, you know, you want someone to be in long-term care because they really have that ability to have the relationship with the residents. And I think I've talked about that now. So then we're leading into engagement strategies. So what we looked at in particular, so we did find that the video reinforces strengthening a team, delivering outstanding performance, and we also use this video during our staff orientation program now. But we also thought, okay, let's look in-house, and we recognized that we needed a retention plan for our registered staff, and then what we do is we pilot it with our registered staff, and then we can take a look at being applicable to other staff that work in our home. We also have RPN and RN student placements, so this is very positive, especially the RN placements. That's been a fairly recent initiative, probably within the last 3 years. And then we normally, all 3 homes, or 4 homes, sorry, Lakeview Manor as well, and Beaverton will get placement students, first year and third year RN placement students. And then we looked at developing a mentoring program, and this is under our lead of this is a Hillsdale specific program which we will pilot at our home, and then we would roll out to other homes. And also roll out to other departments, because we're starting off with doing it with our registered nurses. And what the mentoring program is a very formal program, and it's whereby mentors, which are all across the board, so it's very interdisciplinary. So we'd have a mentor from each department in the home, and that mentor would receive additional training to support their role, and then they would play a very formal role in the new staff that's hired. So they would have their area that they would orientate the new staff member on, and they'd also have follow-up visits. And we have received a lot of positive feedback about this mentoring program. And in fact, I was able to see it in action one day. We were preparing for accreditation, and that's whereby Accreditation Canada comes in and assesses you according to standards. And so you were in the midst of doing a walkabout and trying to make sure that we were meeting some standards, and it was quite evident there was a staff member that was very upset talking to another staff member in the nurses station. And you could tell that she had been crying. And we kind of didn't want to interfere, so pulled back a little bit. And then when I followed up, it was a new RPN that was having a discussion with a mentor RPN. And I followed up with a mentor RPN later, and what had happened is that another RN had indicated to the staff member, I think was giving her feedback that she felt that this area might be more difficult for her to work than this area. But unfortunately, this new RPN took that feedback to heart. I guess the approach from the RN could have been a little bit better. And sometimes we underestimate when you're new and coming into a new workplace, really how vulnerable you may feel. But because the mentor became involved, she was able to so effectively work out this situation. And it was really great, because I'd like to say, that would never happen, that should never happen. But the reality of it does, because you deal with so many different people, so many different personalities. And it's different going to your mentor versus going to your supervisor. If you go to your supervisor, you're brand new and you're thinking, oh my goodness, here I am going to my supervisor right away. So that's a real life example of the mentoring program. So we're pleased about that, and we feel that that's helping with engagement. We do, like any of you, obviously offer professional development opportunities, and we try to be quite open about that and try to promote that. And we do annual satisfaction surveys, and we do follow up on them. The last batch of satisfaction survey indicated that there seemed to be improvement right across the division in the perception of listening. And so then we did a lot of work at staff meetings and saying, okay, so why would you feel that the supervisors are not listening, and just getting some feedback. And part of it is that if there was some input, it was the lack of communication back about what happened with that input. So even if it was, on the menu, I think it would be really great if the residents received water, milk, and juice for their meals. Well, maybe it was the lack of communication back to that staff member. This is what I heard you say to me, and this is what happened, and this is the end result. So that's what we were able to find out with that, what we should have been able to improve on. Okay, this right here is all of our contact information for anybody that needs to get more information from any of our homes. I've also listed the Human Resources Department, and there is our website for additional information. And then I want to make sure that I left some time for questions. So so that we could interact. And yes, Paul.
You talk about having a retention plan for your registered staff.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff does that involve in terms of being able to retain the staff that you've acquired who develop these skills and everything that you want to keep in that facility?
We've worked with HR. This is a fairly new plan, so we don't have a lot of outcome measures to support it. But we have been able to determine that we have low turnover. If we do have turnover, what normally happens is a staff member leaves one home and goes to another home for a full-time position. So over the last year, I think we've had across the division probably about maybe 5 registered staff that have left. And the rest have just transferred through the home, which is good.
But what would be one specific thing that's part of that retention plan? Something that was recognized as, we will do this because we have identified that that's an element that will make somebody stay with us.
The mentoring program would be the most specific from the retention plan. Absolutely. That would be, because that was a fairly large project to get off the ground, as well as making sure that you follow up on staff satisfaction outcomes and make sure that that's well communicated. Not just on, the area of improvement, also on the strengths, and make sure the staff understand your action plan to support the areas of improvement. Sincerely.
Yeah.
What is your relationship with the Meals on Wheels program that is run out of
Yeah, we've been a long-standing supplier for Meals on Wheels. As far as there are partners. We involve them in our strategic planning and our operational plans. We do annual satisfaction surveys with them as well. Meals on Wheels normally leads that satisfaction survey, and we look at that information. It's a positive relationship. We're happy to have them. Any other questions or feedback? Yeah.
So since the video came out, have you noticed a big increase in interest in long-term care?
We definitely have. We've had more placements, so we've had more RPN and more RM placements through the video. We've had an increase in volunteers, and I'm sure I do have some numbers to support it. I should have actually brought them. And we also, we have a pool now of applicants, as before we didn't used to have a pool of applicants.
Are they more qualified because they have a better understanding of truly the applicants that the long-term care is looking for? So it's not just somebody looking, but they understand.
I think I would. Yeah, there's this, you anticipate a certain level of qualification, but I think there's a better understanding of what long-term care is. So certainly the registered staff that's coming into the home appreciates. As before, we would actually get registered staff that would say, I'm at the point of my career where I want to slow down. Like honestly, we would get, those are the type of people we would get, and you know what, you speed up. Like it's a crazy, busy, stimulating environment. So I find there's a better connection of knowing what is really happening. And I know we own that too. When we go through the interview process, we need to make sure that there's clarity, but there's so much you need to do during the interview process. It has helped in that basic understanding. So I think that answered your question.
With all the jobs going part-time, what percentage is full-time versus part-time?
It's probably, please don't quote me on the exact number, but I'm thinking it would be a 40-60%, 40% full-time, 60% part-time, approximately. Yeah, and we try to really focus on that, and we do have the support of the union, which it wouldn't be hard to support from a seniority perspective, but we try to keep that in mind with budget. So whenever we can, we would ask for permission to, reallocate to full-time where it's feasible. Some innovative things that we're looking at with the recruitment, which we haven't gotten completely off the ground yet, but in the back of our mind, this hasn't been a priority. There might be an opportunity to share staff amongst the 4 homes, but we're not there yet, and there's some real pros and cons to that. It can be a little bit tricky because, you know, let's be frank, although we are a division and we support each other, when it comes time to your home's needs, it's a little hard to share to the other home. So just working through some of that, but that would create an opportunity for more full-time positions too. So we're thinking about that. Oh, isn't that great? Yeah, and that's what I love about the video. It's real people. Yeah. None of it was staged. Like, you know, certainly we knew the items we were going to talk about, but it is all real.
For an Oscar and take it over.
That's hilarious. Oh dear. Yeah.
So since you've sort of brought up this video and obviously it sounds like, you know, it's a really fine-tuned machine that you're running, how are you compared to other residents, long-term care, with the length of time that staff actually stay with you? Like what's the average term that, you know, say an RN or an LPN would stay, as opposed to how long they're staying with you now?
That's an excellent question. I should have my HR rep here to answer that. We do participate in what's called OMB. It's Ontario benchmarking, so we do participate with other homes. And I'm not sure if staff turnover is one of them. But I do know that we have really good staff retention. And I know that it's this communication, this explanation of what registered staff do at long-term care has assist with that, but I don't actually have the exact numbers. But I mean that sincerely. I do know the homes have always been fairly good with retention, but not always with registered staff, but there has been an improvement. And I can follow up with that. I can follow up with those numbers. I could email Priscilla. I'd like to do that, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
In your hiring practices, do you seek out qualified bilingual people in terms of French language, given the fact that there's a strong francophone nucleus in the region?
We haven't specified francophone. So certainly when I would say no to that question. However, when we do our hiring, we need the ability to have staff that would be able to handle diverse populations because of our residents already. So we're already dealing with many different cultures. We have some residents that just speak, you know, Greek, etc. So what the region has done is we have a list of staff that are able to speak different languages, and we also are able, we have a contract with interpreters, so if we're in such a situation that we needed that, then we would. So that's part of our looking at being strategic is diversity, and we recognize that we have diverse residents and diverse staff. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Paul, did you talked about, you had your question answered?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're good? Okay, thank you so much. I should have my data with me.